Smith and counsel. Welcome back. Hope you had a good lunch. And we left off with Ms. Smith's direct testimony. So Ms. Smith, come on back up. Of course, you're still under oath. Mr. Lee, you may continue when you're ready.
I'm ready, Your Honor. Tammi, let's just roll it back for one question. Did Elizabeth call you and let you know that Logan had contacted her about visitation with Gabriel?
Yes. I'm trying to go back. Yes.
What did she tell you?
I believe it was early in the morning. She was very shaky and scared, and basically along the lines of Logan is threatening me that if I don't give him Gabriel tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., that I'm going to go to jail for kidnapping. Okay. And I said, I thought you just got full custody and you guys don't do any arrangements until you go back in March.
Okay. Now, did you call the court to find out if that was the case?
Yes, she asked me to call the courts.
Okay, so she asked you to call the courts. Did you?
I did. She gave me the number to call.
Okay.
And I spoke to I called the judge, whatever number she gave me to call for the judge, but it was like his clerk or assistant or something like that.
You suppose it was a gentleman that sat up here and testified about that?
It was him, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what did you ask him?
I asked him, I gave him the number. I think I might have called him twice that morning because I think the first time I didn't have the number, so I called back with that long number that she gave me to give to him.
Case number?
Yeah, the case number.
Okay.
And then I asked him to please clarify because I have a mother that is calling me wanting help, and she's scared and stressed out and doesn't know if she's supposed to actually give Gabriel the next morning for a visit, because she remembered very clearly that there was no visitation. She just got full custody, and then they go to court in March to see about visitation at that time.
Now, would the gentleman that you talked to give you answers about that case?
No, he said he's not allowed to talk to me, and then he said the mother knows what she's supposed to do.
Okay. So, did you make arrangements to meet with Elizabeth?
Yes. She wanted me to meet her and she said, Logan's going to pick the baby up at 8 a.m.
Okay.
And I don't want you to be here when he gets here. So I want you to be here at least 30 minutes before he's supposed to pick the baby up. So basically 7:30. Now keep in mind, I live way in North Scottsdale. She's in Tempe. And on any normal day, it's about a 45 minute drive. So I said, no, I'm not going to get the kids ready and, having to feed them, bathe them, and all, get them dressed and get them up. That's not right. They're getting up in the morning and they want to play and do what they do. And I said, so what I will do, because I kind of had another ulterior motive here at this point.
What arrangements did you make?
I'm sorry?
What arrangements did you make?
I brought her the baby that evening. I made an arrangement to bring the baby that day, that evening.
Instead of the next day in the morning?
Yes.
Okay. Where did you make arrangements to meet her?
I think it's called the Glass Garden Church or something, or drive-through. It had a drive-through in it, the name of it.
Did she suggest the location?
Yes, she said it was down the street from her grandfather or near her grandfather or something.
Did you go to that location with Gabriel?
We did.
Approximately what time?
All I know is that it was starting to get dark out. I had to go to all of my locations, bringing payroll and bringing supplies. I remember she got very angry at me because I was taking too long. And the fact that she didn't want him till the next morning, I didn't see why it was a big deal anyway. So, I don't know. So
you were dropping off supplies to your various business locations. When you were done, then you went to the church we've talked about.
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you got there was duskish, is that fair to say, or dark, or what was
To
it?
be honest, I don't really know exactly what dusk would be. So it's
Getting dark?
It's getting dark. I remembered, much, much later after everything happened, one day when I was...
So it's getting dark, and you met Elizabeth there, right? At the
Right.
church? Okay.
Yes.
Tell us about the meeting with Elizabeth.
I remember, she told me that morning to do this paperwork and only wanting to give him one of everything so he'll step up as a father. And then she told me to put him in his old car seat.
Okay.
And I kind of argued with her about that. I'm like, no, it's broken. It doesn't work. I'm afraid for him in that thing. So I brought the car seat, but I drove with him in our car seat, and she still wanted the old car seat. And so I helped her kind of figure out a way to put him in the car seat to where it was kind of secure, because I was scared to death for him to drive in that car seat. So
you brought him that she wanted the original car seat. Okay, did she want anything else? Did she ask for you to bring anything else?
She wanted the original green diaper bag that was all
Okay.
torn up, and just one of everything. But I gave her more than one of everything because I just didn't feel, that was right for Gabriel. I didn't want Logan to be like, I got to rush to the store. What if he didn't have money? Or, I just didn't want the baby to suffer.
I know we've heard it, but just briefly, why did she want one of everything?
She said that if Logan's going to get his visit and he's going to push me, and she didn't believe he was even supposed to have a visit. So she was angry, telling me she's angry that she has to do this. So she only wants one of everything, so that he will have to step up and see what it's like to be a father and what it's like to actually buy diapers for the first time and da-da-da,
But you gave her more than that.
Yes.
Okay, now, you talked a little bit about it, and you knew where I was going. Did she ask you to prepare a document for her?
Yes, she did.
Tell us about how that got prepared.
Okay. She had told me throughout our conversations that week that she had a computer, but it was broken. It didn't work, so she always had to go to the Scottsdale library to use the computer.
Okay.
And she didn't have enough time to go there that day, she said. So she asked me if I would create a document for Logan to sign, because number one, she did not believe that she had a visitation to give to Logan in the first place. And so just in case, she said that he could leave the state, because he was threatening her all week of doing that, taking him and leaving to Illinois. And so she wanted me to prepare that so that she would have a copy, and I made 2 copies for her, one for her and one for Logan, so she could keep one with his signature. And she needed to have that copy with his signature on it in case if he did leave. And, just saying, this is what I'm giving you, this is the address the baby will be sleeping, because she said that he lives off of people's couches. So she wanted all of that on there. So.
And at this point, you'd never sat down and talked to Logan, had you?
No, we only saw what she says was the back of his head rushing out after court.
Okay. Now, you gave all that, all of these things you talked about. You buckled Gabriel into his seat and put him in the car. What happened then?
Then we just said bye and left, I think.
Okay, and she drove off.
Yes.
Okay. Now, the next few days you were worried, right?
I was worried actually that evening.
Okay.
Because she said, I'll call you, and that was how we left it. So.
And did she call you?
No.
What about, not just that evening that you dropped Gabriel off, but what about the next day? Did she call you?
No.
What did you do about that?
She had a home phone. According to her, she didn't have a cell phone because she couldn't afford one. So the only phone number I had for her at that point was her home phone. And I had called over and over again, I don't know how many times, from that evening until probably Monday afternoon, that we were supposed to pick him up Monday morning. I would say Monday afternoon or the next day, Tuesday, somewhere in there was probably the last time I tried calling that home phone.
Did you ever have her answer that home phone that you were calling?
Nobody ever answered. I just left messages getting angrier and angrier.
Were you concerned?
At first I wasn't too concerned. Then I started to get concerned. Then I got angry. Then I got concerned. So kind of,
A wave of emotions?
Yeah, had a very different wave of emotions.
Did you ever decide to go and try to personally contact Elizabeth?
What do you mean?
Did you go to her house?
Oh, okay. Yes, I did. We were supposed to pick up the baby Monday morning at, I believe, 8 a.m.
Okay.
And once again, she didn't want us to see Logan.
Okay.
So
What did she tell you was going to happen Monday morning at 8 a.m.?
we were to pick up the baby. She wanted us to pick up the baby, give him a time, with the baby over the weekend. Then Monday morning at 8 a.m., we will pick him up. And we went there to pick him up, and nobody was there.
Nobody was there. Now, did you knock on any doors?
We knocked on her door I would say we hung around for 15 to 30 minutes, I'm guessing. Knocking on her door, next door neighbor, back again, her door, waiting, knock again. And then Jack wanted to go back home because, like I said, we live a far distance. When you live kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
Okay, so you went and you knocked on various doors.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Jack said you went and had breakfast.
We did.
Okay.
Went to Denny's.
Okay. Now, what was your next thought of how you might be able to contact Elizabeth? Did you think about finding Logan?
Yes. Over our breakfast, we talked a lot of scenarios of what could have happened. Why she's not answering the door. We had a lot of fears because of the fact that you want to give up a 7-month-old baby that you possibly had bonded with. So we decided that we remembered when I went to help her fill out that paperwork, she had me call Jack and have Jack look on the internet to find out where Logan worked. She said, I remember it's a 99-cent store in Tempe or whatever.
Were you able to find that 99-cent store?
Yes, Jack remembered where it was, or he remembered the street or whatever. So I might have looked it up like on my BlackBerry or something. But before we went there, we went back to her house, knocking once again, trying to get somebody to answer.
Did you go to the 99-cent store where Logan worked?
Yes.
Okay. Was he there?
No, I talked to a few employees and insisted that I talk to the manager. I think she might have been like on a break, even though it wasn't lunchtime. I guess, I don't know their hours, but it was some kind of a break. So I waited a little bit. She got off her break. She came to talk to me. I asked her if...
Did you find out if... was it your belief that was the right store and that's where Logan worked?
Yes. She said Logan works there.
Okay. Did you get a call from Logan?
I ended up...
After that?
After I talked to her, I think we went back one more time to knock, and then we went home.
Okay.
So...
Did Logan call you?
Yes.
Okay. And did you talk to Logan?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Were you happy to hear from him?
Very happy, yes.
Why were you happy to hear from him?
Well, we've been wanting to talk to him. First of all, we've been wanting to talk to him for 9 or 10 days now, right? Or however long we've been wanting to talk. So most importantly, though, we were happy to talk to him because we were hoping that he had the baby and he was safe.
Did Logan have the baby?
No, he didn't know where the baby was.
Okay. Did you become concerned?
Very, yes.
Did you talk to Logan a number of times for the next few days?
On the 21st and the 22nd,
Okay.
we talked a number of times, yes, on those 2 days.
Okay. Now, did Logan give you any information that would help you get in contact with Elizabeth?
On the 22nd, he did, yes.
What was that information that he gave you?
I don't remember if he told me or Jack. I remember it being something along the lines of, I think I know how we can get in touch with Elizabeth.
Why is that?
Well, because I figure if we can get in touch, or if somebody can get in touch with Elizabeth, we can figure out where the baby is, right?
How did he think you could get in touch with Elizabeth?
He gave us her MySpace page, like the log, or not the login, but whatever the thing was, told us what to look for on MySpace. And so if we went on MySpace and sent her a message, I bet she'll call you. And so that's what we did.
Okay. So you sent Elizabeth a message. Did she reply? Excuse me. Did she reply back?
I think Jack went on my MySpace. I pulled it up, and I think he was talking to Logan at the time. I pulled it up, and then I wanted to talk. I had some stuff I wanted to ask him. And so I think Jack ended up doing that. And then she replied back in maybe a text message, maybe, at that time.
She replied back to you. Were you able to get a phone number that you could talk to her about?
Do you mind if I just sit for 1 second and think? Because I don't know. I want to be precise when I say this. I'm trying to think if it was, I know it probably doesn't matter whether if it came back on Facebook or a text. Well, when the text came, whether it be Facebook or text, we got a text message from her. And we saw that it was a 210 area code when she texted me. And so I believe I was the one who texted her back that it's too much to say in a text message. Please call, it's important, or whatever. And so that's when she called right after. So
she called you, and you got a phone number.
Yes.
We'll get into a little more detail here, but you probably, it was important to you to know where she was, correct?
Logan wanted to know where she was. Of course, we wanted to know, but more importantly, we had somewhat just bonded with Logan for the past 2 days, and he made himself out to be a really good guy, and that maybe when we're thinking, let's give this guy a chance, just because she's saying bad things. Yes, we looked up his record. We found out things bad about him. But at the same time, it doesn't mean he's a murderer. It doesn't mean he's going to hurt somebody like she's saying. And like Jack said, there's always 3 sides to every story, And we started to bond with him, and we started to like him. And so he wanted to know where his child was, and we wanted to help him find his child.
Okay. Did you ever look up the area code to see approximately where she might be?
Yes. As soon as she sent us the text, I believe that's when I think right after that I got on Google, and I Googled, what is the 210 area code, and I think Jack was on the phone with Logan at that time, and then I think he let Logan know it's San Antonio, Texas, and so that's what we did with it. We found out through Google.
Did you give Logan the phone number to Elizabeth?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Now, when you talked to Elizabeth, and I know you talked to her a number of times, but did she say there was something specific that she wanted Logan to do?
Yes. What had happened was I was on the phone with Elizabeth.
Okay.
Jack was on the phone with Logan. We each talked. I called her, he called, it was all the same time, and we talked, and we're kind of, letting Logan sort of hear the conversation as best we could as I'm talking to Elizabeth. Call might have lasted 3 or 4 minutes. And he couldn't hear everything that she was saying. And he was, so after the phone call, I think we had called him back, or I can't remember exactly when the call, because it seemed like there were a bunch of calls back and forth. And so I told him exactly what it was she said, hesitantly.
Okay, you were hesitant about it, but what is it that she said?
Yeah. She said specifically, you tell him that I'm not coming back unless if he signs adoption papers, and after 5 days, I will come back as long as he's safe with you and Jack.
Okay. Now, and we've heard this probably till we all want to die, but you told Detective Ramirez that you thought sending out phony documents to trick Elizabeth might get her to bring Gabriel back.
I felt like because she told me that the first day that we found out where she was, and that was her, she's telling me to tell him this, and then she'll come back. I trusted that if that happened, that maybe she would come back. And we had talked to Logan about the fact that, we'll even sign a document stating that we're not going to adopt the baby and we're only doing this to get her to bring the baby back. So after a week later or whatever it was, and then we hear that she might have killed the baby, we didn't want to believe that. And so we would do anything to get that baby back here. I would have done anything she would allow me to do.
Okay. Do you remember Detective Ramirez saying she didn't think it was a good idea to send out phony adoption paperwork to Elizabeth?
Yes, she said that's not my style or something like that.
And you suggested that they send out phony paperwork to her to bring her back in, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, and in your mind, the police could do things like this?
That's what they do on TV all the time.
Like buy drugs undercover?
Yeah, all the time they do things like that. I mean, don't you want to find this baby?
Okay.
I just...
Now, let's step forward. Now, you had, for the next few days, let's take you from the 22nd to the 24th. Over the course of that 2 days, you had quite a number of communications, both in text and in phone calls with Elizabeth, correct?
I'm sorry, can you just give me 1 second? My head's kind of spinning a second, I'm sorry. I'm just kind of going back. I'm sorry.
Okay, you ready?
Okay.
Now, between the 22nd and the 24th, you had quite a bit of conversation with Elizabeth Johnson. Did you talk to her on the phone?
Yes. I'm thinking that it was more than just the 22nd to the 24th. It might have been the 25th or the 26th, possibly.
I'm focusing on just that section.
Okay. I just don't want anyone thinking that I'm lying or something.
No.
So.
Let's just focus on just those 2 days. And between the 22nd and the 24th, there was quite a bit of communication, both in text and in phone calls between you and Elizabeth Johnson.
Yes, correct.
Give us the general nature. How were those conversations going? How was she sounding to you?
At first, it was scared and panicky.
Okay.
And at some points, very angry and very, very angry because the very first day her and I started talking on the 22nd was the day that it was back and forth, back and forth. Tell Logan this, tell Elizabeth this, tell Logan this, tell Elizabeth that. And so that day, it was a lot of anger. And then, I wanted to be honest with her and up front. We didn't want to keep anything from either of them. We didn't want to trick anyone at this moment with, to where I didn't want to lose her trust, okay? Now, doing the documents, that's something totally different. She wouldn't have known until after she came back. But I didn't want to trick her, and then he calls her, and then we lose all contact. So I told her that I gave him the number. She was mad at me, of course, for that. But then somehow or another, she still kept calling me and talking to me. So
She was mad at you for you giving Logan the number.
yeah, and she said she couldn't trust us anymore, and she had nobody in her life, and we were the only people she could trust.
Okay. You were telling her to come back to Arizona?
Yes.
Okay. On the 24th, this was what, Christmas Eve?
Yes.
Okay. Was she talking about going underground and just leaving?
Yes, throughout the 22nd and the 24th, she was like this.
Okay.
I'm going to leave. Now I'm going to get a job. I got a job and all these different things. She's making up all these things. And then on this day, it was different. This day, once again, just like the 22nd, she was shaky. She sounded frantic. And she said her grandfather had called her and said basically the same thing that we had told her on the 22nd when he told her, you tell her blah, 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 Amber Alert and all this stuff. She's going to go to jail and all this stuff. So now Grandpa's calling her, telling her the same thing, and that he is trying to get grandfather to report the car stolen.
Okay, she was panicky. Mm-hmm. Okay, and she was threatening to just go off the radar.
Yeah, she said that she found somebody that is getting her and Gabriel new identification, new birth certificates. Once again, she's going to color her hair, and she used the word underground. I didn't know what that meant, but I do know that if you use the word underground, you're not here. So, and telling me that she's got new identities because she's got new cards and all this stuff. So we were very scared. We asked her, I'm sorry.
Did you talk about changing jurisdictions?
Yes. We told her, we said, you know what, wait a minute. I was in a custody suit. I lived in Tennessee, and my children lived in Louisiana. And in my custody suit, when we had gotten split custody or whatever you call that, my ex-husband was named the domicile parent or something like that. Okay. And when I took my kids to Tennessee for the summer, my ex-husband's attorney talked to the judge, and they talked to the judge and said, Judge, please set some kind of an order so that Tammi doesn't go to Tennessee and then have the jurisdiction changed. So I remembered that. And I told her, I said, you know what, instead of going underground, changing your identities, and I explained to her what could happen to Gabriel if she did that, and that's dangerous for that baby. I said, why don't we see if legally you're not going to be in trouble? Let's see if there's a way that you can get around this in a legal manner. And I think Jack and I both talked to her a couple times in that conversation, and we're trying to basically talk her off the ledge because she said she'll never speak to us again after this day. She's going away.
You were trying to find a way to localize her.
Yes, we wanted to see, because we knew she was in San Antonio, but didn't know where. So we figured, because we were still waiting on Logan's dad. They were supposed to, he said they were going to go get her, and they hadn't gotten her yet. So we figured, you know what, if they still haven't gotten her, she's leaving now. So we're desperate at this point. This is the only time, because if they haven't got her yet, we have to get her somewhere where we know exactly where she is. So we were trying to do anything to get her to really trust us, and look, we've got this place, and we'll take care of you. We'll make sure that, there's a place there that can get you diapers, and they will help you, and, we're doing this. And I said, I'll check out and see if it's legal. But then I got scared because I found out it was not legal the next morning through whatever the research I did throughout that evening, and the next morning found out it wasn't legal.
Now, did you ask her to call a friend of yours in Tennessee?
Yes, because I kept telling her that she has a court date. I think it was supposed to be on the 28th. And she kept saying, I'm not going. I'm going to shut off this phone, and I can't ever call you again because I know that they'll be able to track me if I call you. And so I couldn't get a hold of any attorneys that I knew of. I believe at that point it was I just remember that time frame being Christmas Eve. And I remembered back when I was in my child custody suit, I remember Christmas Eve sitting at the courthouse and seeing my husband's attorney with a big cart wheeling in cases of Jack Daniels for the judge. So
now who was the friend that you asked her to call?
I asked her to call a girl by the name of Janet Morris, which is a friend of my friend.
Okay. You asked her to call Janet Morris. Okay. Mm-hmm. You were afraid she was going to leave. As soon as you found out that it wasn't legal to change jurisdictions, did you tell Elizabeth?
I did. And then we grasped for more straws. Because somebody told me that
Did you tell Elizabeth?
I did.
Okay. Now, when you did this, were you trying to keep Gabriel away from Logan?
No, we were trying to get Gabriel to Logan.
Because you wanted to make sure she didn't run.
Yes, we wanted to make sure she's going to run. She's saying, I'm running.
Yeah.
I'm getting out of Texas. I might go to Mexico or to Europe. And we're like, oh my gosh, if she's going to change their identities, if she's doing all this stuff and she's going to run, let her run to where we know, so at least we'll know where she is, so that way Logan and his dad can finally get her.
Okay. And that was the reason you did it. That was the reason you talked to her about it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, after you told her and you continue to talk to her, how are the conversations going? Are you telling her to come back to her hearing on the 28th?
Yes. There were other little scenarios that we were trying to come up with, and then, there was nothing that we could do. So I'm like, look, just come. And at that point, even before in her custody thing, I wasn't planning on, nor was I wanting to help pay for any of that. But at this point, I'm like, I'll pay for an attorney. Just get back here. So I contacted my attorney and said, I need you or someone to go to court. I need her to know that it's okay. She's not going to jail for kidnapping. I need her to know that she can come back here safely and they're not going to get her, because the only way to get her here safely is to calm her down, let her know that it's all under control. My attorney was prepared to do that. He was prepared to go to court, or a friend of his, another attorney, was prepared to do that.
Did she ever come back for her hearing on the 28th?
I called Logan that day to see if she made it, and he said no.
Do you think you asked her multiple times to come back to Arizona?
Multiple times with each phone conversation. So if we had multiple, I would guess we probably told her 20 to 30 or more times than that. Okay. And that's just in conversation.
You can kind of see it when you're telling the story, but tell us, how were you internally while this was going on? What was going through your mind? I just had a lot of fears, like, what is she going to do with that baby? Who's really helping her? Who are these people helping her that she keeps saying has phony cards? Is she lying to me? I had a lot of thoughts of what's going on, but my biggest fear was what's happening with Gabriel. How's he doing throughout this? And where's Logan and his dad? Why haven't they found her yet? He said they would pick her up with a ping. And as if I kept talking to her, then they would find her. And he told me that his dad is a cop. He will find her. Just don't let her go. Keep talking to her and keep talking to her. And my dad will get her phone, ping, and he will know exactly where she's at. And they still haven't found her. And I was very frustrated that they hadn't found her yet. I just wanted them to hurry and get her before she ran. Do you remember the text? That's okay, I can give you a minute.
I'm sorry.
You remember the text where you asked her, look, I just at least put the baby up to the phone. I need to at least hear Gabriel.
Yes. I was told many different stories by different police officers and different detectives, and one of the stories was that she texted him that she killed the baby, and another story was no, she didn't text him, she told him over the phone. And because Logan lied to me the end of the day of the 22nd, and he lied to me and then changed his whole story and got weird with me, I was thinking, now I can't trust him, so I don't know if she really told him that. Maybe he's just saying that, And so I wanted to believe the baby was alive. I wanted to believe in all my heart that there's no way I held a baby that somebody killed. And I text her because I needed to hear him. No matter what, I needed to hear him cry because I know what his cry sounds like, you know. And I think that was the day she kept saying that I would keep trying to call her, and I think the police might have been there that day or the next day or whatever, and we kept trying to call, and it would get hung up like hello, and it would just disconnect, hello, disconnect, and I was afraid, like, is she on the run, or is she hanging up on me because she did what they said she did? And I know what his cry sounds like, and I just needed to hear that. And I think I told her, just go anywhere and get anyone's phone. If your phone's not working, whatever, you know, I needed to hear his voice. I needed to hear him cry because he didn't speak yet. And I knew his cry.
Let's ask about, I don't know if everybody's has kids, but when Hannah cries or Savannah cries and there's a noise of children around, can you tell their cry one from another?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are in Chuck E. Cheese, and Jack can be all the way across the room, and I can be all the way over there with the other child. And if I hear one of my kids cry, and there's a million kids, I know my kids cry, and I know when they're hurt, or I know when they're crying because they want something that they're not getting, you know? So, yes.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
You may.
Okay, Tammy, I know everybody's excited. We're going to look at a few texts. That's because I think we need to. Okay. Tammy, you have a screen in front of you.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, you have a screen in front of you. You should be able to see the text, okay? So don't look at this one. You should be able to see the ones in front of you. And what I want you to do is just read them. And
Hold on.
I apologize, Judge.
What exhibit are we referring to?
You know, we're referring to what is the text? No, I wrote it down. I believe it's exhibit 215, I think, or the text.
Is that exhibit in evidence?
It is.
Okay, so it's exhibit 215, it's in, you may publish it to the jury.
Thank you.
For the record, what Mr. Lee is showing are copies of the exhibit, but I have looked at the copies and they reflect the exhibit itself.
Yeah, I know it's got a big pen at the bottom and that they'll be able to compare.
And Mr. Lee has highlighted some things on his copy that I do not object to.
Thank you. You may publish it to the jury.
Okay. All right. Let's see what we got. Okay, Tammy, is that where you can see it?
Yes.
Can you read those?
No, it's a little blurry. Can you go back
All right,
just a
well,
little?
why don't I just hand
Okay.
them to you and have you read them?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Can you read it now? Or is it
Yes.
too blurry? Okay. Read this top text.
Can we get together tomorrow morning to talk with you and your dad? I'm afraid she'll be gone forever. Because she doesn't want to go to jail for kidnapping.
Okay. Who was that sent to?
That was sent to Logan from me.
Okay, could you read the second one down?
Is that an I before doesn't, or is that just like a mark?
I think it's just a mark.
Okay. Starting back up here, she doesn't trust you or your dad. The only way she'll come back is if my attorney faxes the signed papers to her, so she won't get in trouble and Gabriel be with us.
And this is the phony paperwork that we've been talking about.
This is what she has been, it's the back and forth with the two of them.
Okay.
Through me.
Okay. I'm going to get two more on this page.
For her, it was not phony.
Okay. All right, read the top one, please.
He says, no. Monday, when she fails to appear in, the judge will issue a warrant for arrest, and anyone who has helped her will be subject to arrest as an accessory. And they are going to issue an Amber Alert for Elizabeth and the baby. I'm not signing any adoption paperwork.
Okay, what day was this text? I know it was forwarded on the 27th.
Right, it was on the 22nd, and we forwarded it to Detective Aguilera on the 27th, all of the texts between me and Elizabeth and me and Logan.
Okay. Now, there was, and it's been a while, but there was some mention, did you, was Tammy ever threatened by Logan? Was this what you were talking about?
Well, that was the only one that I can prove because I didn't record any phone calls.
Is that what you're talking about, the Amber Alert?
Yes, those types of threats. He never threatened to hurt me, like, physically.
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah. No, he didn't no, he wasn't just like anyone helping her is gonna, is whatever,
All right. Okay. And I think we saw this one earlier from the state. Could you? Oh, I apologize. It's 244. It's about the Amber Alert.
Make sure the post doesn't.
Oh, sorry. Get my notes to myself. Okay. All right, Tammy, could you read that one for us?
Do you want me to tell you who it's to and from?
Yes.
It looks like it's from me to my daughter. I just woke up and got your message. We don't know anything yet. She won't answer her phone or texts either. They should send out an Amber Alert today, I think. I was assuming that because that's, what I was told.
Okay, who were you told about the Amber Alert?
Well, Logan told me a few times about that they were going to send out an Amber Alert or that it had already been issued and that type of thing. But then the police told me differently.
Hey, could you read that one? This is one the state showed earlier.
And this is...
Could you read it?
Yeah, I can't see it very well. It's a little blurry.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm sorry. This is a little foggy, the screen's.
I'm sorry. They don't let me sit in that seat.
I'm sorry.
We can arrange that.
Yeah.
Do you want me to tell you who it's to and
Like
from
material.
once again?
Yes.
Did you want to know that? This is once again from me to my daughter. Thank you. I hope she gave him to somebody in another state or something and then ran away. Maybe she told him that just to throw him off so he wouldn't look for him.
Now, Tammy, what had you been told by the police at this point? What was going through your mind?
I was told that she killed the baby, and I started not to believe them because there were too many, there's too many inconsistencies with, and I understand they have their investigation, but they kept telling me different things. So I hoped in my heart that she didn't kill him, because I'd rather her have done anything but kill him, not hurt him or anything.
Had she talked to you about somebody who was going to help her?
Well, she talked about, she had said that she had people that were going to help her. And then I think she sent me an email that she got a job and that her boss or somebody like that was understanding and that they were going to help her. And just, she always had somebody that was going to help her. From the first day that I talked to her on the 22nd, she said that she had friends that helped her. And that they were in the process of getting her new identities.
Tammi, were you desperate for hope that this baby was alive?
Yes.
Okay. All right. May I approach the witness, Your Honor? I think it'd probably just be easier if she can't read it.
This is still Exhibit 215, correct?
Still Exhibit 215. It's highlighted in pink. Should you read the top one?
From me to my daughter.
Yes.
The producer of Good Morning America emailed me wanting to know if I would give them the story. Should I? ? She's calling at 8 or 9 a.m.
Okay. What's the next one? Did you read both?
From my daughter back to me. Yeah, I think you should. It would be a good opportunity. They could save this baby.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Now, there's been some talk about you doing media appearances. What was the purpose for you doing media appearances?
Well, the media told me that they couldn't find the father, and I believe Channel 5 could, I guess, but none of the other media outlets could ever find the father, and they were trying desperately to get to him. They said that the only way you can find a baby, it's very crucial the first, few days, and the only way to really find a baby is to slap his face everywhere. But you can't just put a baby on TV and say, here's a missing baby, please find him, or that's all that the news would be day in and day out, because there's so many missing children. So they asked Jack and I if we would help them to find this baby. And so we did. They couldn't do it without a story. So we had to, it's like we did nothing for, I think, it seemed like a month or so, did nothing but try to find this baby.
So that's why you did the media?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, this is... Again, Your Honor, I need to approach the witness.
You may.
Okay, Tammi, there's two highlighted in pink. You could read those to me, to the jury.
Oh, this is from me to my daughter again. Yeah, I know. Was this after the last text? Is that where that's coming from?
But it's on there. You can
Okay.
You can see it.
Yeah, I know how to find him, and nobody is available to take my statements. They don't even care. They said call back tomorrow or Monday.
Now, Tammi, what were you trying to do to find Gabriel?
I remembered that, Logan declined the offer to have my attorney do that and for us to do these adoption papers, because this is what Elizabeth is wanting. She's saying she's going to come back. We were willing to do it. We were willing to sign a paper stating, the baby's not coming to us. It'll come to Logan. He didn't want to do that. And so I thought, you know what? If she was going to do it before, maybe she'll do it again. And this is like, I'm thinking, let's try this. Let's do this. That maybe if I could somehow get in touch with her through MySpace, and I think at that point, I think she was still possibly sending me a message, or I think at that point I had gotten a message recently, or I sent something like that in MySpace. I truly believed if they would have allowed me to do this, then she would have brought that baby back here.
One more question on that. Is this what you're talking about, proposing these things to Detective Ramirez?
About the doing phony adoption papers? Yes.
Okay. May I approach you, Your Honor?
You may.
Sorry, straining. I have it's stuck.
Again, Your Honor. Tammi, this is along the same lines. Could you read that?
Again, this is from me to my daughter. I don't know, but if the father signs phony adoption papers, 5 days later she will sign, and then she will tell us where he is, because she will think that we will get him.
Phony?
Phony, yeah, I read phony. I guess that's how you spell it. F-O-N-E-Y.
Okay. Yeah, Your Honor. Okay. Remember the reporter with the funny name? What was that? Yami?
Yami version, actually.
Okay. What do you have in front of you? Can you identify those texts?
The first text that you have highlighted is from Yami to me, if the detective was right about that first one being the person who's sending it, correct?
Okay. Yes. Go ahead and read what it says.
Okay. Do you think she went through an adoption agency? You should contact CPS to make sure you can provide foster care for the baby when returned.
Okay, can you read the next text? Just
And
tell us
then
about it.
that was from her to me. This is from me to her. We are starting classes on January 12th, but it takes about 3 months or more.
Okay, can you read the next highlighted? It should be the next page.
This is from Yami to me. Still contact them just in case.
Okay, is that the last one?
You have these 3 highlighted?
Yes.
You want those? From me to Yami. I guess I will do that tomorrow. I have a friend that is a caseworker for CPS in Tennessee. We adopted Hannah, and she was the caseworker. Maybe she can put in a good word.
Okay. Is that the last one?
No, Yami to me. If not, they might send him to a random home, and then me to her, or to the dad or grandpa.
Now, did you believe that Yami specialized in her career in the media in finding missing children?
Yes, she was at Fox News in San Antonio, and she told me that her job as a reporter is to find missing children. She explained to me that San Antonio is a place where a lot of illegal adoptions go on, and that that's part of like her big thing is to find babies. And so her and I worked for I'm gonna guess a couple months trying to find Gabriel, like together, back and forth on the phone or all the time.
Now, you talked, I can't remember whether you talked about this, I don't think you have, but did you call CPS?
I think I called my friend in Tennessee, and she said that's a different state, you know?
Okay.
And then, so I believe I called CPS, that number that I had for the lady that they talked to. I believe I called that number. And if I didn't call that number, I looked it up on Google. I never did get in touch with anybody there. And so I told Yami, because she had reminded me the next morning, she called me and said, did you call them? And because I had forgotten about it the next morning, and because it was really not my thought in my head to do that, you know? And she reminded me, so I said I tried calling, and then we talked about it, and we talked about the fact that a judge is the one who makes the final decision, and I said, ooh, I got the judge's number, you know? And so I looked for the paperwork and found that number. I had the number of the judge, and I had their case number, and so I called that number.
Why did you do it? Was it an attempt to help find Gabriel?
No, not to help find Gabriel, no, because Yami had told me before that, all the text messages, I think it was the day before.
We are way into hearsay, so let's stop talking about what she was told.
Not what she said. What was your thought process?
Thought process was the father's never going to get this baby when he gets back because he has too many felonies on his record. Therefore, instead of going into a foster home, since I didn't want him going back and forth. He was with Elizabeth and then me, and then Elizabeth, and then if she gave him to somebody, because I believe at that time Elizabeth had been arrested, so at that time, if she didn't do what she said, then that means somebody has him. He's not just, somebody's got to have him, So we figured, why come back to Arizona and go into a foster home and then possibly another foster home? So I thought I was trying to do right by the baby so he's not going from home to home.
Is there any law that you know of that prevents you from calling the court? Is there any law that you know of that prevents you from calling the court?
I don't know. I didn't think there was.
So it's perfectly legal?
I don't know any laws.
Hold on, stop. Sustained.
Okay. Did you believe that you had the ability as a citizen to call a public official?
Yes, I thought that I could. I thought that I was allowed to call. I just wanted to help Gabriel.
Okay. All right. Now, we heard the calls that Mr. McQueary recorded, correct?
I heard a couple of them, I think.
Is that all the calls that went on between you and him?
No, I don't know where all his recordings are.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the 21st, okay? How many times did you talk to him that day?
May I look at
If it'll refresh
some
your memory.
notes? Let's see, 21st. Do you have anything better? Because I'm not sure. I'd literally have to.
Refresh your memory, may I approach
If-
your witness?
You may.
Yeah, my phone records don't. It'd be a little harder for me.
How many times did you talk?
1 second, as the state scene was.
No, I can show it to him. Did I show it to him? I don't know that I did. Let me
Show it to Ms. Andrews.
I'm a little uncomfortable about this. These are apparently Mr. Lee's notes.
Judge, as far as I know, I'll tell you what, let me point her to the paper, let me point her to the phone record she has in front of her. We can do
That
it
would
that way.
probably be the best thing to do.
May I have a pen?
Yes.
Here you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Tell me when you found the 21st on your phone records.
Yes, I have it in front of me.
Okay. At 12:19 on that date, did you talk at the time of 12:19 on December 21st, 2009? Did you talk to him?
Yes, I did.
How long?
29 minutes.
Okay. Again, the same day at 1:14, did you talk to Logan?
Yes, I did.
How long?
10 minutes.
Okay. At 2:51 on that same date, how long did you talk to him?
30 minutes.
Okay. Same date, 9:23. Did you get? Oh, never mind. Not that one. That's a text message. Okay. Let's look at the next day. Tell me when you've gotten to the 22nd.
Okay.
Okay. At 10:39 a.m., it's the 22nd of December, did you talk to him?
Yes.
How long?
40 minutes.
Okay. The 22nd at 11:49 a.m., did you talk to him?
No, that was Elizabeth.
Okay. At 12 p.m. on that same date, did you talk to him?
Yes.
Okay, how long?
5 minutes.
Okay, the same date on the 22nd at 12:06 p.m., did you talk to him?
Yes.
How long?
17 minutes.
Okay, same date, 22nd of December at 12:53, did you talk to Logan?
Yes.
For how long?
1 minute.
Okay.
Do you want to know the rest?
Go ahead.
It was only one more at 12:53 p.m. for 4 minutes.
12:53 p.m. for 4 minutes. Okay.
I think you. I'm sorry.
Okay. Now,
I mixed up.
it's just a rough estimation, but do you think, given all those times, that we heard everything that you talked about on the recordings that were played here in court?
Did we hear all of our Oh,
Yes.
no, we didn't hear all. No.
There's a lot more time that's unaccounted for.
I think there's a couple hours unaccounted for.
Okay.
You'd have to do the math.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
You may.
There you go. Okay.
I'm done.
Cross-examination, Ms. Andrews.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Smith.
Hi, good
Please let me
afternoon.
know if you have trouble hearing me.
I
tend to
am
be
already.
soft-spoken. You're having trouble already?
A little bit,
All
yes.
right, I'll try and speak a little bit louder. okay?
Thank you.
Is that better?
Yes.
We heard yesterday when you started testifying that you have quite a bit of life experiences.
Yes.
You have been married 3 times?
No, more than 3 times.
More than 3 times?
Yes.
And if you don't mind my asking, how old are you?
40?
You're 40 years old. You have 2 grown children and a teenage son as well, correct?
Yes, he's about to turn 18.
About to turn 18. You have 2 young daughters,
Yes.
and one of those daughters was a young daughter in December of 2009. That's Hannah.
No, you mean her birthday? Are you asking her birthday?
She was a young daughter in December of 2009.
You mean, is that when we adopted her, or?
No, I'm asking if you had a young daughter in December of 2009.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just wasn't clear
No,
on
that's
what you were
okay.
asking. Did I have Hannah? Yes, we had Hannah in December of 2009, yes.
And she was about 4 then?
Yes,
You own a business,
yes.
and in fact, it's a very successful business, or at least was at one time.
It was before this.
And you had actually 6 different locations in the state of Arizona for that business.
Yes.
You traveled for the business?
No. Well, I mean, I went to a, what is it called, a convention, but it's just because it's not really for the business. It was just basically so I can have another plaque on my wall.
But you traveled to a convention for the business?
Yes, I did.
And you have 2 certifications?
No, I have a ton of certifications. I would have to go back and count them. I've got tons.
Oh, so you have several certifications?
Yes.
Okay. You went to Africa for a mission,
Yes.
and you were a preacher there in Africa?
Yes.
How long were you in Africa?
I think about 3 or so weeks, maybe.
So you have quite a few life experiences.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about Hannah, since we talked about her already. We heard a lot about the adoption process with her, and in fact, you educated us on the fact that you'd been through custody proceedings with Hannah.
Yes, through all the DCS stuff and all that.
There were custody proceedings involving Hannah.
I don't think it was custody proceedings.
Okay, well, you talked about court.
Yes.
You talked about Hannah's father's attorney appearing.
Right.
You talked about Hannah's father appearing a couple of times and then he stopped appearing.
Yes.
You talked about parenting conference.
Yes.
In fact, you talked a little bit at length about the parenting conference and the purpose of the parenting conference and what happens at a parenting conference.
At that point, we had full custody, so
Right.
it was to see if he could have some visitation.
Right, but you talked about a parenting conference.
Yes.
It's a yes or no question. Did you or did you not talk about parenting conferences
Yes.
in regard to Hannah?
Yes.
So you are familiar with what happens in a parenting conference?
In that one.
In that one. And in fact, you've been through child custody cases before because you had a child custody case involving your ex-husband
Yes.
and your children.
Yes.
And in fact, you told Dave Hutchins that in the child custody case involving your ex-husband, you exaggerated to make your ex-husband look worse than he is.
I don't think that's exactly what I said. Are you able to read that to me?
I sure can.
Thank you.
Just give me a moment to tell you. Bear with me, there's a lot of these.
Okay.
Ms. Ramuno's going to find that for me.
Okay.
We'll talk about Savannah.
Okay.
Did you go through child custody proceedings involving Savannah?
No.
But her adoption isn't final yet, is it?
No.
And in fact, before it's final, you have to go through a home study.
DCS got involved while she was still in the hospital. I think they might have done the home study. I think DCS might have done the home study already.
Okay, now there's no DCS in the state of
I'm
Arizona.
sorry, CPS. Here it's called CPS.
So it's your position that CPS has done the home study already?
I'm not 100% positive, but I think they have.
Okay, so if your attorney told us that for it to be finalized, there has to be a home study, and then a judge has to determine that you are appropriate parents, would that
I'm
be
sorry,
incorrect?
I didn't hear some of what you said. I'm sorry.
If your attorney told us that you have to go through a home study and have a judge determine your appropriate parents, would you agree with what your attorney told us?
If my attorney told us that, I don't know what my attorney told you. I just remember CPS coming to the hospital and they were going to take away the baby, and then we said that, well, we were already going to adopt the baby. So then I believe he said, I'm going to do some kind of, I think it was like a home study through CPS. They went out, and I don't know exactly what they did. I don't know if it was a home study, but I think it was. I'm not positive.
So you don't know if you did a home study or not involving Hannah?
I don't know how they do home studies here in Arizona when it's a relative adoption as opposed to adopting another child. So I'm not positive, no.
And so you don't know whether or not a judge has ordered that you're appropriate to be parents for Savannah at this point?
There has not been a judge order, no.
And are you aware that your attorney stated that has to be done before the adoption is final?
I'm not aware, and my attorney also doesn't know what happened with CPS after the last time we spoke in the hospital, I don't believe. So.
Your attorney's not aware of what happened with CPS?
My attorney's not aware of everything that happened once CPS got involved in all that. I don't even know if we had spoken about it. I'm sorry, I don't know that answer.
And you're not aware either?
I'm not 100% positive, no.
And let's talk a little bit about Rachel Hoover. You were present when this trial started, right?
I was present the entire time.
And you're aware that we started talking to jurors on April 9th,
Yes.
2012.
Yes.
And at that particular time, you were aware of the witnesses the state was calling in this case.
I believe that was the day I found out Rachel was on your witness list.
December 9th, 2012?
It was around,
December, you mean?
I'm sorry, April 12th, 2012.
it was once we started something here in the trial is when I found out.
Once we were in court.
Yes.
And so you're not aware that she's been on our witness list since March of 2010?
No, I actually got the witness list emailed to me by Ann. I think it was a month or two before trial, and she was not on that list.
So you never saw the original witness list, and you weren't aware she was going to be a witness of ours until trial started?
Yes.
Commissioner asked and answered as well as relevance.
Overruled as to both.
But when trial started, you were aware Rachel Hoover was going to come in and testify for the state?
Yes.
Were you aware that your attorney had interviewed Rachel Hoover?
After I saw her on the list, I went to her over there and whispered in her ear and asked, because I was wanting her to be my witness. I thought she would be my witness in this trial.
And so you went to your attorney and you asked, and your attorney advised you that she was a state's witness?
Yes.
And in fact, did your attorney advise you that she was going to interview Rachel
Objection, Your Honor.
Hoover?
This is attorney-client privilege as well as hearsay.
Sustained as to attorney-client privilege.
Were you aware that Rachel Hoover was being interviewed by your attorney in our office, at the county attorney's office, with us present?
I didn't know that until after trial started.
So on April 11, 2012, you took it upon yourself to call Rachel Hoover on the telephone.
I'm sorry, what day?
April 11, 2012.
Actually, yeah, I think I called twice trying to find her because I was hoping that she would be a witness for me in this case, but I didn't get a hold of her.
Even though trial started on April 9th, 2012, and you were aware she was going to be a state's witness?
I called before I found out she was a state's witness. I had no idea she was on that witness list.
So even though we had started trial on April 9th, 2012, talked about the witness list with the judge, talked to the jury about the people on the witness, you did not know she was going to be a witness for the state when you called her on April 11th, 2012.
Can I please see something that proves that I called her on that date? Because I can promise you, as God is my witness, when I called her, I was trying to call so she would be a witness for me. So I had no idea, none. So if I could please see my phone records that shows that I called on that specific date, then I could be more clear as to my answer.
Well, I don't have your phone records from April 11, 2012. What I have is Rachel Hoover's mother saying that you called Rachel Hoover on April 11, 2012, trying to get her to call your attorney.
Okay, do you have something that I can look at, I could tell you what date it was, most likely, if I had something to look at. I can tell you that it wasn't once I don't believe we were in trial during that time. And all I know is that I did not know. You can ask my attorney, because I was in shock when I found out that she was on your list.
So it's your testimony that when you called Rachel Hoover, we were not yet in trial.
I don't believe we were. I don't believe so. I believe it was within days. All I know is that I had no idea she was on the list.
You talked about Rachel Hoover selling her baby. Do you recall testifying about Rachel Hoover selling the baby?
That's not exactly what I said.
Okay. Well, do you recall telling detectives in police interviews that Rachel Hoover sold her baby?
No.
So you don't recall telling Detective Ramirez and Detective Ryberg on December 29th that the other couple had an attorney call them for the attorney and claims the couple got $80,000 for their baby?
No, my attorney told me that the attorney got $80,000. I said I wouldn't buy a baby.
All right, Ms. Smith, why don't you go ahead and read to us. Actually, take this off and make it a little easier. I want you to go ahead. I'm sorry, Nora, I didn't ask to approach. I apologize.
Notice that? You may approach.
Line 3265.
Mm-hmm.
Through line 3334.
Okay. That's what happened with the baby, before Gabriel, that was supposed to be born a couple days after we got Gabriel. Was never ever anything mentioned about money. The mother, I'd gone to visits, the doctor visits and all that stuff. Sure. All that. And her whole mentality was, she was telling me about all these girls that are pregnant and that are playing 3 different families and stuff and getting them to pay for their electric bill and their, all this stuff. Yeah, you have to be careful. And she's like, and that's just sickening. She's like, I'm just happy to I'm just happy to find you guys, that you guys are such a good family and you're going to be a good family for my baby. She's like, I could never take a penny from anybody. And at the last minute, it was on Friday. Friday, they found themselves an attorney. They called my attorney and they found themselves an attorney. The mom and dad of the baby that was going to be, born that we were, adopting, non-relative to, nothing to do with Gabriel, but So they call us on Friday, and that attorney wanted us to go to Monday morning, so 24 hours basically, in working hours. Monday morning, go to the court, pleading the court that we could give them $3,500 for expenses and then pay her $39. That was supposed to be $3,900. Okay, I'm sorry. And I'm like $3,900 fee. I know, but then they were selling the baby, and this is, but that attorney sold our baby for $80,000. She got $80,000 on Tuesday for that baby. That Tuesday when the baby was born, instead of us going through my attorney, that's a friend of mine charged me $250 for the adoption. Is that where you want me to stop?
Yes.
Okay.
So you told the detectives that Rachel Hoover's baby was sold for $80,000.
I thought you said that I said Rachel sold the baby. The attorney sold the baby.
Oh, so the attorney sold the baby.
Yes, that's my opinion. That attorney sold that baby for $80,000.
I'm going to go ahead and go back and show you the transcript.
Are we at a good point to break, or do you want to ask one more question on that topic?
One more question.
Okay. Oh, I don't know what happened, but I'll take care of it. Let's shut down somehow the projector got turned on and we've got stuff on it. So let's shut that off. There we
Mine
go.
is still on. I don't know if that matters.
It's
okay,
on.
so.
I'm going to show you the transcript you asked about before regarding Dave Hutchins. You
Okay.
want to make a motion?
You may.
You want me to ask every time?
You don't have to now.
You can.
Okay.
You could go ahead and read line 1031 through line 1037.
I'd be happy to. Start with Thank you.
And can you, sometimes harder to read those, could you, when you're reading questions, say question or Q, and then read it, then answer, so we know it's a question and an answer.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Did you want me to start, I'm sorry, at the answer of 1030, did you say? Where
You can
it's
start
yellow?
where it's highlighted.
Okay. Answer, hold on, let me think. I might have embellished something in court because I went through a child custody case. Question, okay. Answer, I might have embellished something or made up something, my ex-husband, to make him look worse than, but to the best of my knowledge, I've tried to be as completely honest as possible. So no, I did not say that. I said I might have.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes,
Stand
thank
corrected.
you.
You might have embellished something in your child custody case.
Yes, I might have.
Good point for break.
Yes, Sean.
All right, we're going to take our afternoon break for about 15 minutes. So remember the admonition, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
All right. Do you recall Ms. Smith told Detective Thompson on January 8th, 2010, that Rachel Hoover's attorney got $30,000 for that adoption?
I don't remember saying that, but what I think I remember is that I think she typically gets $80,000. Maybe my attorney said, but for this one, she ended up with 30. I don't know positively.
Okay, so you think that one time you said 80,000, but she might have gotten 30,000, but that's what you told the detective?
It's possible.
And in reality, for the baby, as far as your adoption, they wanted $3,500?
I believe they wanted, I believe my attorney said that their attorney wanted for the parents $3,500 as opposed to $1,000 and $3,900 for her fees. I believe that's what the two charges were.
Okay, so a total of how much?
I believe it was going to be roughly $7,000, including my attorney's fees as well.
Now, if your attorney says that it was somewhere between $2,500 and $5,000, would you disagree with that?
For the full total?
For the full total.
I mean, this is 2.5 years ago, so at that time, I don't know. You know, I don't know what he's going to say. I have no idea. So if he says that, then that's probably his recollection, but that's my recollection. So.
Okay. But you didn't want to pay that money because you felt that it was buying a baby.
Yes, I felt like it was buying a baby. Absolutely.
And your understanding is legally you only had to pay them $1,000 for medical and housing expenses.
Well, they didn't have medical and housing expenses, but $1,000 for any extra expenses that they incurred in the pregnancy for this baby, like, you know, maternity clothes.
My
maybe she
question
had to get
was, your
different shoes.
understanding was that they were entitled legally to $1,000.
That is what my adoption attorney told me, Kinsha.
And your adoption attorney told you $1,000 and no more.
He said that that is what the state of Arizona allows. He had counseled me on that about a week or two prior, I believe.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I may have misheard this, but I believe when you testified yesterday, you stated that you were looking into surrogacy, but you gave up the idea of finding a sibling for Hannah until you met Elizabeth.
There was a point in which we gave that idea up, and then met Elizabeth, thought about it once again, and then after a while gave it. We were on again, off again a couple of different times, and then after meeting Elizabeth, after a while we were, like, I think I met Elizabeth in June, didn't hear from her again until December 8th. And from that time until I met Rachel Hoover, we might have been on again, maybe one time in between, I'm not positive. We were on again, off again, but at the time that I met Rachel Hoover, we were not on at that point. We had given it up because we just moved in our house, and we were very happy in our new home and settled.
So prior to meeting Elizabeth in June of 2009, how much time had you given it up? Like, how long had you decided?
I'm not exactly sure.
A month?
I'm not exactly
months?
sure. This is what we're thinking, 3 years ago or something. So I'd really have to sit and really think about it and look at like things in my life, what I was doing, where I was living, were we building the house, were we in the apartment before the house, that kind of thing. So I would say 3 to 6 months, possibly. Not positive, but possibly.
So 3 to 6 months possibly prior to meeting Elizabeth, you gave up the idea of getting a sibling for Hannah.
I believe so.
Hannah, I'd like to publish exhibit number 202.
You may.
Do you recall Detective Thompson testifying about MySpace information?
Yes.
And do you recall him specifically testifying about this MySpace page?
Yes.
And what's the date at the top of that?
March 31st of 2009. Oh, March 22nd, actually. And then the last one is March 31st.
So the first one was sent on March 22nd, and then the
Yes.
last response was sent on March 31st.
Yes.
And this is the MySpace page where you contacted somebody and asked if she was willing to give up her baby for
Correct.
adoption.
Yes,
And she
ma'am.
responded back and said she's very happy with her husband and she is not considering giving her child up for adoption.
Correct. Yes.
And that was in March.
Yes, I sent that March 22nd, I believe, 2009.
And you talked about how Jack is not too fond of surrogacy.
He's, we have no,
Not too fond
he's
of
not.
surrogacy. But yet, Your Honor, this is still part of the same exhibit. You posted several MySpace ads looking for a surrogate, and I can only fit 3 on at a time. But starting in September of 2008,
I believe the top one was an adoption, talking about an adoption.
Oh, that's right. The top one is about adopting a baby from China. And then the next two are about surrogacy, correct?
Yes.
And then there's three more about surrogacy
Yes, looks like they're all on the same day.
through November of 2008.
Yes, November 20th of 2008.
And in this ad right here, you offer to pay $900 for 10 months.
Oh, are you asking, was that a question?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yes, that's what it says, yes.
And you and I both know that a pregnancy is actually 10 months, not 9 months.
Well, it's 9 full months, making it on the 10th, the day of the 10th month. So yeah, it's 10 months. I mean,
40 weeks, right?
it's, yeah, the first day of the 10th month.
And in this ad that you sent at 11 p.m. on that same day, you offered $800 per month for 10 months.
Yes,
And the prior ad before that, you also offered $800 a month for 10 months.
yes.
And on this ad, you offered $900 a month. And that's at 2 p.m. on the same day.
Okay.
Is that correct? That's what that
At
says.
1:02 p.m., did you say at 1:02 p.m.? Yes.
Yes. No, I said 2 p.m.
Oh, I don't know, it looks like 1:02 p.m., so
It does.
I don't know.
You're right. And then on this ad, also that same day, you offered $700 a month.
Yes.
But you weren't willing to pay $5,000 for Rachel Hoover's baby.
Completely different thing. That's buying a baby. A surrogacy is a completely different thing than adopting or buying a baby. This is somebody's baby.
And in fact, you were looking for surrogates in the state of California, weren't you?
Yes, we were planning to move near my sister in LA and live there.
So you wanted a surrogate in California because you were moving there?
No, if we found we were exploring the idea, and if we had found a surrogate, then the idea was to move to California and open up another location there where my sister lives.
So it's not what you wrote here, since the laws of surrogacy in Arizona are so weird.
I was just saying sorry I didn't want to speak over you, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So it's not because the laws of surrogacy in Arizona are so weird.
Absolutely, that's the reason. Yes, that was the reason we were looking in California. So that would lead us to go move to California.
And in fact, you actually found a surrogate in the state of Arizona, didn't you?
In the state of Arizona, you said?
Yes.
I think we talked to a lot of people in Arizona and California and maybe even other states too. Or I did.
But you actually found somebody willing to be your surrogate in the state of Arizona.
I did I think I found 2 people that were willing to do that, actually.
Well, and in fact, one person actually was inseminated on your behalf a couple of times.
No, not a couple of times, one time.
One time, and that's Casey?
Her name is Casey.
And it didn't work out,
No, it did not work out.
and she decided not to do it anymore.
No, Jack decided we wouldn't do it again.
Objection, I don't know how
This is relevant.
overruled.
And so Jack didn't want to go through with it, so you didn't do it anymore.
Jack did not want anything to do with surrogacy. He didn't believe because of our faith, he didn't believe that God wanted that.
Was Jack aware of Casey?
Kind of. I mean, he was kind of aware. He kind of basically told me, do what you want to do, but don't let me know. Don't tell me, basically. Like, I don't want to hear about it. He didn't like the idea. He was angry of the idea about it. Didn't want to know, really, just didn't want to know about it.
Let's go back to, or go forward to when you met Elizabeth Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
You talked a lot about how you met her. In fact, I believe you said you saw her in the airport A woman next to her was holding the baby. You assumed the woman was her mother.
Yes.
Did you tell the police that?
No, because I didn't remember that until my attorney told me to do, like I had told him about the body talk thing.
Right. You didn't
And he told
remember
me how
it
to do
until
it.
you did the body talk.
Exactly.
So in all of the interviews you did with the police, you forgot about how you met Elizabeth Johnson in the airport.
I was never asked specific questions. I was being asked different questions that were leading to different things. So
So the police
didn't
never
remember
asked
that,
you
no.
if a woman was sitting next to her holding the baby, so you didn't remember that?
I didn't remember.
You testified that you thought Elizabeth was about 16 years old.
Yes.
She's not, right?
I think she was 23 maybe at the time, or 22. I'm not positive.
But she appeared to you to be possibly as young as 16 years old when you met her in the airport.
Yes.
And you were concerned about her because she didn't appear to know where she was going after the airport.
There were a lot of different concerns, not just that.
But
I
she
was-
didn't tell you how she was getting home.
You mean once we landed?
Yes.
No.
She didn't tell you her grandfather was coming to pick her up.
No, she did not.
And she didn't tell you where she was going to go after that.
No.
So she didn't tell you she was going home to Logan?
She said she was going back to her apartment and she was hoping it wasn't emptied out.
You talked a lot about the day you met Elizabeth Johnson, but I don't recall. I went through my notes, Ms. Ramuno went through her notes, but we don't recall you testifying about how adoption came up that day in the airport.
When I testified yesterday, you mean?
Yes.
About how we got on that subject?
Yes.
And you're asking me that question now?
Yes, please.
Okay. From what I remember, after I found out that that's not her mom, she got upset about that. I asked her how old she was because I assumed she was 16. She told me her age, got a little upset about that. And I thought I remembered yesterday testifying to the fact that when I asked her if she was okay and what was going on, she was telling me why she was so upset and why she was crying. And that was that her and her grandma were trying to adopt out the baby, and that they found out when they tried to adopt the baby out that they needed the father there to sign it.
And in fact, you did testify about the grandma and Elizabeth wanting to adopt the baby out, but that's not something you ever told the police, is it?
Yeah, I believe I did. I'm 99% positive that I said that, and then I believe I even called another day to tell Detective Ramirez, why aren't you guys looking at the grandma? I mean, she's the one in the first place that was trying to adopt out the baby, you know?
Now, you talked about Elizabeth and her grandma wanting to adopt out the baby, but I still haven't heard how the conversation came up about you adopting Elizabeth's baby.
When she talked about that, we started talking, and somehow the conversation came up that Hannah's adopted. We were looking to adopt a sibling, but we kind of recently gave up the idea, and so we started talking about that. I don't know exactly how, like what she said. I can't remember her exact words to me. Whether it was, do you want to adopt my baby, or maybe you can, I don't know. I don't remember exactly what was said to that.
Okay. So you don't remember what was said, but you do recall offering Elizabeth to stay with you.
For the night, yes.
And you offered to pay for a hotel for Elizabeth,
For that night, yes.
and you offered to take her to Maggie's place.
Yes.
And she rejected all of those offers.
Yes.
You talked a lot about the things that Elizabeth Johnson said to you about Logan.
Okay, yes.
And in fact, you talked to the detectives a great deal about all the things that Elizabeth Johnson said about Logan, correct?
I believe in the first interview or two, and then they kind of stopped me and didn't really want to hear anything about Logan anymore.
Oh, so the police stopped you and they didn't want to hear about Logan?
Detective Ramirez did. She basically was saying that you don't know him, and she basically kind of halted that type of thing. So
But you told the police a lot of information Elizabeth told you about Logan.
I believe the first time, maybe even some on the second time. And then I was halted to that type of talk.
And that included his criminal history.
I guess. I don't know when I gave them that. It could have been to say, hey, but look, I have proof. I don't know.
Do you recall giving Officer Duarte on December 27, 2009, Logan's printout of criminal history and telling him, so you know what you're dealing with?
I probably did. I would assume that sounds like something that I probably said.
So you had a lot of information from Elizabeth about Logan, but the only thing you were able to confirm was your printout of the criminal history.
Well, in a sense, I also confirmed on the paperwork that he filled out with her neglect and all the different things, just from the lies that he wrote on the paperwork. She basically confirmed that with, he got all his shots on time, every time. She went to all these parenting classes. She got WIC. She got food stamps, government assistance, and everything that he had told me, it all ended up becoming lies. So it was very hard to trust anything that he said anymore.
Everything Logan told you became lies?
Well, when we talked over the phone, he had said that he's the one who bought everything. He told me he spent thousands of dollars on this baby for formula, for diapers, for the crib, for this, for that. So, yeah, that confirmed to me that he was lying to me.
So it's your opinion right now that Logan was lying about who was paying for things?
Yes.
And I'd like to publish exhibit number 63.
Is it in evidence?
It is. It's a copy. It's the original court documents.
You may publish.
Let me show you one page from the court documents that were obtained by Detective Duplessis. Can you tell us what it says on that top line?
Elizabeth Johnson?
Before that.
I'm sorry, what line do you want me to look at?
The top line.
I'm sorry, name of person filing.
And then what does it say?
Elizabeth Johnson.
Okay. And what does it say down here under where I'm pointing?
It says gross income, pre-tax income.
And what's listed under the father?
How much he's making? $1,200.
And what's listed under the mother?
$0.
I'm going to show you the second page of the document. Whose signature is that down there? Or what name is actually written there as the signature?
The signature is Elizabeth Johnson.
Now, that's not your writing, is that?
No.
So Elizabeth Johnson filled out this paperwork.
Yes, she filled out all of that.
But according to you, Logan was lying about...
About giving her money? I'm sorry.
Logan was lying about making the money?
No, Logan didn't lie about making money. Logan was lying about paying for everything of Gabriel's when the state of Arizona was. I don't know where his $1,200
Elizabeth Johnson
went.
showed you WIC paperwork?
Yes, she showed me. She was very adamant. She had a manila folder, and I had never seen a mother this detailed. I'm not that detailed. I don't have like a manila folder with everything of my child's records. I mean, it was extremely detailed.
She had shot records.
Yes.
And
Matter
the
of fact,
shot
she
records?
gave me all of that stuff to take with me.
And the shot record said Gabriel's mother, Elizabeth Johnson, brought him on such and such date to get these shots.
No, it was the shot records to show that each one was done.
Okay, so he had his shots.
Yes, he had all his shots.
But you don't know who took him to get those shots.
No, but from what I believed at that time, here's a mother. I don't see anything there that looks like a man might live there. Just a mother and a baby. And everything that she laid out in front of me showed that this mother is taken care. It's showing all these parenting classes. So it's apparent to me that clearly she said she did, so I believe her that she did.
You believed her?
So, yes.
Because she showed you WIC paperwork, parenting classes, and shot records.
And she also showed me, I think she was getting like some kind of money from the government or something like that as well. And she said that I believe her grandfather bought her that trailer because no felons are allowed to live there, and that is why Logan didn't live there, and that was another reason to keep him away from her.
Did you tell the detectives that Elizabeth told you that no felons were allowed to live in the trailer?
I believe so. I believe I did. Either me or Jack.
Do you recall when and who you told that?
I don't know when. I honestly don't. I mean, it seemed like they were at our house almost every day for weeks, it seems like, you know, in that first, whenever all of that happened. So I wouldn't know what day. It was a huge whirlwind and a very huge disappointment and sadness of what they had told us about Gabriel.
Now, you knew Elizabeth Johnson was a liar.
I did.
You did, because on December 9, 2009, the police came out to your house looking for Gabriel.
That was her first lie she told us.
December 9, 2009 was the first lie.
Yes, that night.
Okay. That's all right. Thank you for answering the question. And you were present there at Elizabeth's home on December 14, 2009, when Alicia Shumway from CPS was there, correct?
I was.
And in fact, you described Alicia as being mean and ugly.
She was to me, and then Elizabeth at the end, yes.
Because she confronted Elizabeth on some lies.
I didn't know what lies they were because she didn't, that's when she shut me up. I said, what lies is she telling? And then she said, basically shut me up, that this is not about you. This is, Elizabeth knows exactly what, you know, and this is about Elizabeth and Logan, basically shut me up. So I was like, okay.
Well, you heard Alicia Shumway testify. She was here in trial.
I did
and she
hear her.
testified. And what she testified to is that Elizabeth Johnson told her on that day, with you sitting there, that she had no intention of giving that baby up for adoption.
I believe Elizabeth told her, I told you, something about I told you yesterday that I was thinking about putting the baby up for adoption. I don't want the baby adopted out now. And Elizabeth did tell me the day before she doesn't want to adopt the baby out anymore. That is why we brought all of the stuff back. I brought the whole file folder. I brought his food, his formula, and everything, and expected to drop the baby off that day, and Jack expected me home alone in about an hour or two.
So on December 13th, 2009, it's your testimony today that Elizabeth told you she no longer wanted to adopt Gabriel out.
Was the 14th when CPS came?
It was.
Okay, so I believe it was the evening. It was I believe the day or evening before that is when she decided. It was back and forth, and I'm not sure the exact day, but it was back and forth. And I can tell you that when I went there with CPS, that our deal was to drop the baby off, drop all his stuff off, and I'm going back home. I had no idea she had spoken to CPS a couple days prior from what she testified.
So according to your testimony now, Elizabeth was back and forth on adoption.
About 4 or 5 times during that 9 days.
And you told the police this?
I don't know. I'm sure I did.
You're sure you did?
Well, this is... Forget it. I'm sorry.
And in fact, when you talked to Alicia Shumway on the telephone to set up that meeting, you told Alicia that you were babysitting Gabriel while his mom looked for a job.
No, I don't think she was looking for a job.
Okay, so you didn't tell Alicia Shumway that?
Maybe Elizabeth did. I told her we were glorified babysitters and he was staying at our house for a while. I don't remember saying anything about looking for a job. I don't remember...
So Alicia Shumway is wrong when she testified to that.
I mean, she probably has a lot of cases. It's been 2.5 years, so I don't know. I don't remember saying anything about looking for a job. I can't remember.
Okay, so Alicia has confused this with one of her many cases then.
Like I said, I can't remember. I don't know.
So you met with CPS on December 14th, 2009, and you talked about taking Elizabeth to a parenting class. And I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. Was the parenting class before meeting with CPS or after?
It was after, and she was going there to get just a piece of paper. It wasn't a class I was taking her to. That's just where she got classes from.
And then you went to court.
Yes.
And you talked about, oh, I'm sorry, you didn't know it was court. You went to a place to fill out paperwork.
Yes. I now know. For the past 2.5 years, I know.
And you talked about it being really hectic and everything you had to do to file the paperwork and talking to people about what to put on the paperwork.
Yes.
And in fact, you testified that your attorney told you to put a John Doe on the paperwork.
He told both Elizabeth and I in different conversations.
Okay. And you told the police this?
I don't remember. I was interrogated in a basement, and I don't really remember a whole lot of anything I said that day, except for, oh my gosh, that looks like my handwriting. I think that's me. I think I wrote that. That's almost all I remember of that day in that basement.
You were interrogated in the basement of the Tempe Police Department, which was under construction in December of 2009, right?
I don't know what was going on there. All I know is they kept walking around in a bunch of different, and then they brought, I don't know what's going on there, but all I know is it was a very long walk, and then we went way down a bunch of stairs, and it was like in this little basement room or something.
You went down some stairs and you had a meeting downstairs.
It wasn't a meeting. It was an interrogation.
Fair enough.
Yes.
And so you went to court on December 14th, 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And you filled out paperwork for Elizabeth.
I helped her.
Your Honor, I'd like to publish what's already in evidence, exhibit number 195.
You may.
I'd like to see it, though.
I'm sorry.
I'll wait till you're done. Okay, thank you. That's good. Thank you very much.
We would approach.
You may. You can ask the question.
Ms. Smith, I'm showing you, I've forgotten, exhibit number 195, which has been admitted into evidence. You were present when Alan Kreidel testified?
I'm not sure which one that is.
He was the handwriting expert.
I'm sure, yes. I mean, I was here the whole time, so yes.
And I believe you were also present when Detective Ramirez testified and talked specifically about writing on a document such as the one I'm pointing to right now.
Yes.
And in fact, you admitted to Detective Ramirez that was your writing.
Yes.
And you've admitted to us here in court that you wrote that.
Yes.
I want to show you a different page in this document. The page that we were just looking at is page 4 of 6 of the document. I'm showing you now page 1 of 6 of the document. Have you seen that document before?
Well, I see my handwriting on it, so obviously.
And to be fair,
I mean, that looks like my handwriting.
This is a copy of the document you've seen before.
Okay.
Would that be fair? And you recall Alan Kreidel testifying that he highlighted in different colors the writing he believed to be
Yes.
one person's and the writing he believed to be another person's.
Yes.
And in fact, Alan Kreidel then wrote down on his report a little legend there indicating what color he attributed to which person.
Objection, Your Honor.
She doesn't know who wrote that or what or why.
Overruled. If Ms. Andrews is misrepresenting what Mr. Kreidel said, the jury can determine that. There's nothing wrong with the question overruled. Why don't you ask the question again?
So you recall Alan Kreidel testifying that, no, my question was, and it appears that he wrote a little legend here indicating what color was attributed to which person.
So your question is that he wrote that?
My question is, does it appear to you to be a legend there?
What's a legend? I'm sorry.
Oh, it's a color indicating who wrote what.
Whatever you say, I didn't write any of that, so I guess he wrote it. I don't know what you're trying to ask me. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I don't know
fair
what
enough.
you're trying to ask me.
Let's go to this line right here, where it says other. Can you read what's written there in print?
There are two potential fathers. Although we were together at the time of birth, Logan I think it says Logan signs the birth certificate.
Is that your writing?
I believe so. It really looks like it.
Okay, so you wouldn't disagree with Alan Kreidel if he attributed that to you?
Nope, I would not.
And what does it say right here on this line?
The Superior Court of Arizona, Maricopa County.
And what's underneath there?
It's a case number.
And
It
there's
looks
a
like an
number written-
FC 2009/007470.
And up here on the top, where it says your name, what's written in there?
Elizabeth Joanne Johnson?
And did you write that?
Yes.
And the next two lines, your address, your city, state, zip, and then the telephone number, did you write those?
No.
Right here it says representing, and there's a box for self, and there's an X marks there. Who wrote that?
I guess Elizabeth.
And underneath it says or attorney for, and there's a couple of boxes. Do you see that?
I do see that.
Okay, and there's nothing marked there, is there?
It doesn't look like it, no.
And Alan Kreidel appears to have attributed to you, right here where it says name, Logan Scott. Did you write that?
That looks like my writing, yes.
And then address, and it says no known address.
Yes.
And work.
As well. I'm sorry.
I interrupted you, I apologize. And it says work after,
Yes.
and it says County of Residence USA.
Yes.
Did you write all those?
It looks like it, yes. Looks like my writing.
And then it says date of birth here, and it looks like Alan attributed that to Elizabeth Johnson. Did you write that?
That looks like it's not my writing, so it would probably be hers because she was the one doing that.
And then it says occupation here. Is that your writing there?
Yes, it looks like it.
And what does that say?
Stock boy at 99-cent store?
So Logan had a job.
Of course, yes.
Okay. Well, you were present when your husband testified.
Yes?
Do you recall him saying that he was surprised that a father without a job would seek custody of his son?
I do remember him saying that.
But Logan had a job.
Yes. We both testified that he was a stock boy at 99-cent store.
Okay, now we'll go down here to number 2, where it says name.
Do you want me to read it?
Did you write that?
Oh, yes.
And then there's an address there. Did you write that?
No.
And Alan Kreidel doesn't contribute that to you. And then county of residence, date of birth, and occupation. Did you write those?
Yes.
And how about the box marked next to mother? Do you know who wrote that?
I don't know.
Now I'm moving on to page 2 of 6 of the same document. Up here at the top, it has a name about the child. Did you write that?
Yes.
And then it has a birth date. Did you write that?
Yes.
And about these boxes down here, do you know who filled those out?
Most likely Elizabeth, because I was just basically writing the stuff that I knew, like kind of repetitive, her name, the baby's name, Logan's name, things like that. But I was also off and on taking care of the baby, and he was crying a lot, and changed diaper, all that kind of stuff.
So in addition to writing Craig Cherry document, you also wrote another place on there that there were 2 potential fathers.
I don't know. I'd have to look at it and see.
Well, I'm sorry, that's the first thing we talked about, but I'll go ahead and put it back up there so you can see again.
Yes. Yes.
And it's your testimony that you weren't aware that that was going to court?
When we went there that day, no, I didn't know. I thought this was like a battle between the 2 of them, and then possibly with that battle, then they could see if they could get an attorney, and then they go from there. In my own case, I'm appointed an attorney, so I didn't really read anything. I was quickly going through each one, name. I mean, I was like doing like that, and then I've got a baby right sitting next to me crying, and I was not reading anything. I'm sorry.
Now, we talked a lot about what you were doing on December 14, 2009. Do you remember telling Detective Ramirez that you didn't remember what happened in court because you'd been drinking the night before?
I don't remember saying that. If I said that, I might have said maybe my memory was foggy because of it. I don't remember saying that. I'm sorry. I don't really remember that.
Do you recall telling Detective Ramirez that you thought Elizabeth sold her dogs to pay for the trip?
I remember telling at least somebody that, one of the detectives or officers that.
Do you remember telling Detective Ramirez that Logan had an armed robbery or armed burglary conviction, has been in and out of prison?
I'm sure I did say that. That's what I was told.
By Elizabeth?
Yes.
But you had his criminal history.
Yes, but I don't know how to read it right. It basically looked like what she's telling me. I mean, you read it and it looks like that. I don't know the difference of specific legal terms, but when you read it, it reads very much like that. So I don't know. I mean, prison or jail, I guess it's the same thing. I don't know.
Now, you never looked up any police reports?
For what, Logan?
For anything on this case?
I don't know how to look up a police report. They have like public access lookup, and they just give you what they give you.
But you didn't go to the police station and ask for a copy of any police reports?
No, I was too busy trying to help find a baby. After that.
Well, you weren't looking for the baby between December 8th and December 18th because you knew where he was.
Oh, you mean, during that time frame that we had the baby?
Right.
No, I didn't see any reason to drive 45 minutes away to go try to see if a civilian could go get a police report. I mean, if they're not giving it to you on public access, why would they give it to you at the police station?
Do you recall telling the police that Logan got Elizabeth arrested for criminal damage?
I remember telling the police something about, I think I remember telling the police something about that. I don't remember the exact thing that I said, but I remember saying something about that.
And that's because Elizabeth told you that?
Yes.
You didn't go obtain that police report?
No, but I did look it up on public access, and it didn't show. She said that she was arrested, but there was no charges. And so on public access, it didn't show it at all. So I believed she was telling the truth.
And you were looking up at Tempe City Court?
I don't know. I think it's like maybe www.publicaccess.com, or maybe you Google public access lookup or something like that. Case lookup, maybe.
So without any corroboration, you just believed her?
To me, that was collaboration. That's from the city. It's got all the different things you can. When you look at the public access, it shows like different courts, different things. I don't know what court it was in, but it's got all of the stuff for Maricopa County courts and different things like that.
So you believed her when she said that Logan got her arrested because of what was on the public access website?
I believed her story that Logan got her arrested, and because she didn't do anything and it was a false arrest, that they let her go and there were no charges. And I think she said it was like 6 months prior. And when I looked at the public access case lookup, there was nothing on there. So the fact that she didn't have anything except for a ticket for not going through going through a red light or stoplight or whatever that was, I would guess that the state, that was true, right? The state would put it on there if she had been charged, I guess,
So because you only saw a traffic ticket, you believed Elizabeth when she told you that Logan got her arrested?
Yes, I believed her.
We went over these documents a little bit. We talked about Ken Schutt. Ken Schutt didn't tell you to write your cousin's name on the document.
No, he did not.
In fact, Ken Schutt didn't even tell you to write a real person's name on the document, did he?
I thought he did.
He told you to write John Doe on the document.
I believe he said you need to write a John Doe on there.
Right. And in fact, he told you that you needed to tell the judge the reason you were writing John Doe on the document is because Elizabeth didn't want to put the name of the father, the person she thought might have been the other father, on that document.
I remember him saying something like that, and Elizabeth said that she was going to tell the judge that she can't say who the father is because of the domestic violence between her and Logan.
But Ken Schutt didn't tell you to put a real person who was not the father on that document.
I believe he said you need to put a John Doe on there if he's to take a paternity test.
A John Doe, not a Craig Cherry.
I thought a John Doe was anybody, like a name. You need to put a John Doe because watching TV, a John Doe is a name, I think. I mean,
So you thought your attorney's advice was to just pick a real person who was not the father of Elizabeth Johnson's baby and write that name on the document?
yes.
And so you thought it was okay to put Sam Ayala's name on that document?
I never asked to put Sam Ayala's name on there.
Oh, that didn't happen.
No, we were making jokes about Jack and Sam and all of his child support and then talking about, she told me that Sam's going to adopt her 2 kids and then he'll owe her child support as soon as she dumps him, and we were making jokes. I didn't ask to put his name on there.
So you were joking. And then you were joking again with Elizabeth Johnson when you were talking about Craig Cherry.
Yes, yes.
And you were joking with Deanne when you were talking about putting Sam's name on it.
I just said that, yes.
And you were joking with Elizabeth when you say she asked if she could put Jack's name on the document.
Yes, before that. Yes, I just said that again. Yes.
And in fact, I recall from one of the interviews you had with Detective Ramirez that you said you were joking with Logan when you told him he needed to sign adoption papers so Elizabeth would come back.
I didn't say I was joking with Logan.
You didn't say that in one of the interviews that we played here in court?
I don't remember ever saying that because that wasn't the case. If I said that, I need to hear that because that wasn't the case. I wasn't joking with him when we were talking about that, because he asked me specifically, what did Elizabeth say? And I told him, I don't want to tell you what she said. You don't want to hear what she had to say. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And it went on. There was no joking about that.
So you don't recall telling the detective in that interview that you were laughing when you said it, and the detective telling you that Logan wasn't laughing about it. You don't recall that conversation?
I do not. I'd really like to hear it, though.
Now, you were present in court when we played the what? Oh, I'm sorry.
I just remembered. I just remembered. Yes, I wasn't joking about the adoption paperwork. When I called him back to tell him what she said, I was kind of chuckling, saying, you don't want to hear what she wants to tell you. That's what I was talking about. That I was kind of chuckling about it in a joking manner, that you don't want to hear what she's trying to say.
You were present when we played the wiretap phone calls,
Yes.
and you heard those phone calls? Mm-hmm. And that was Craig Cherry you were talking to.
I think some of them.
Some of them were Craig Cherry, and some of the others were voicemails that you made to Detective Thompson and Detective Ramirez.
Yes.
But the phone calls, the actual phone calls where you were talking with someone, that was Craig Cherry.
Yes.
And you told Craig you would tell the police that you were joking with Elizabeth and she wrote down the name on the document.
Because that's what I believed at that time was the truth.
Because you had forgotten you wrote down the name on the document.
Actually, I thought Elizabeth did until I actually saw the paper.
Until Detective Ramirez showed it to you.
Yes.
After she asked for a handwriting sample.
Yes.
talk a little bit about Tennessee. You told Detective Ramirez that you started researching Tennessee one night while you were drinking wine. Do you recall that?
I remember talking to her about it and wasn't 100% positive if I started researching it that night or if it was the next morning. And she kept pushing me that I had been doing it a lot longer than that.
Now, at one point in time, you told the Detective Ramirez it was 24 hours.
I believe I said it was probably 24 hours.
And later on, you admitted it might have been a couple of days.
Only because after numerous interrogations day after day after day, and finally she brings a SWAT team and there's helicopters over my house and she interrogates me in my own house with guns strapped to their legs and vests on, and she's trying to get me to tell her anything and I want to appease her and get her out of my house. It's like almost 3 o'clock in the morning at this point. I almost was going to I was trying to pick anything to tell her.
She interrogated you with guns strapped to her legs?
Not her legs, no. All her SWAT team. They had big old guns strapped to them and vests on them that said SWAT. I've got helicopters going over my house and nobody will let us. I mean, I had to ask to go to the bathroom. They had to follow me,
So it wasn't off in a room when you asked Detective Ramirez if she'd sit on the floor with you and talk to you?
I never asked her to come sit on the floor with me. She asked me, where can we go privately and sit and talk?
Now, you testified that you researched some stuff on the computer.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
You testified that you researched some stuff on the computer.
Yes, I researched stuff on the computer.
But you didn't just do research. You told Elizabeth Johnson about what you had found on the computer.
I believe we were on the phone at the same time as I was researching, and I was on the phone with her telling her I think I read stuff to her on there as well.
Well, you were also on the phone with Deanne Ayala at some point while you were researching.
I don't believe so, no.
No, that didn't happen.
Actually, no. No, it didn't happen.
Okay, so when you told Detective Ramirez that you were drinking wine and talking to Deanne about stuff you were researching on the computer, that didn't happen?
Once again, this was the day that we got helicopters and a SWAT team in our house, and she's forcing me to tell her something and acting like she's got all this evidence on me and telling me people are telling her things and she's got this evidence, and I'm saying, you know what, maybe I told Deanne, I'm like, maybe I told her, I don't know, I'm scared to death.
So you admitted to things with Detective Ramirez that you didn't do?
Yeah, to get her out of my house and leave me alone.
And so you never talked to Deanne Ayala on the telephone about changing jurisdictions?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last thing.
You never talked to Deanne Ayala on the telephone about changing jurisdictions?
I don't believe so. I mean, in that whole month, we talked less than an hour. Less than an hour.
So when Deanne Ayala came and testified that you were very close...
We used to be, a long time ago.
That wasn't true at this point in time?
No.
And when Deanne came in and testified that you called her and asked her if you could put Sam's name on the court document, that didn't happen?
She called me, and no, I didn't ask her. We were joking about, hey, we should put Sam's name on there. We were joking about that.
And when Deanne testified that you asked her if you could use Sam's sperm in a surrogacy, that didn't happen?
Absolutely not.
And when Deanne testified that you talked about Elizabeth going to your property in Tennessee, that didn't happen?
I don't believe so, because that was around December 24th, and I don't believe her and I spoke again since the 17th. And we were talking to Elizabeth about that around roughly the day before Christmas, I believe. So there's no way I could have told Deanne that.
And you testified about a conversation you had with Deanne on December 9, 2009, when you were at Walmart.
Yes.
And that she called you Do you recall Deanne testifying that you were very excited and said you've got a baby, that you were telling her we've got a baby?
Yes.
Did that happen?
You know, it was very similar to that. Deanne wanted to have a surrogacy, and her cousin was going to carry a baby because she had eggs and I didn't. You know, it was one of those things where, you know what, I'm so sick of this girl throughout our old relationship trying to one-up me all the time. So if I said that to her, it was probably just to get one on her, you know?
So you talked to Elizabeth about Tennessee.
Elizabeth, yes.
Elizabeth. And in fact, when you talked to Elizabeth about Tennessee, she was in Texas.
When I talked to Elizabeth about Tennessee, I believe she was in Texas at the time, in San Antonio, and I believe that was the day before Christmas.
And she wasn't in Tennessee.
Did you say in Tennessee?
She wasn't in Tennessee.
As far as I knew, she was still in San Antonio, Texas, but I had no reason to know that either. All I know is she's calling me from a 210 area code that we've Googled, and she did agree that on the 22nd, when we finally did get a hold of her, that she was in a one-week stay hotel in San Antonio, Texas.
So as far as you knew, Elizabeth Johnson was in Texas.
Yes.
You told her about your property in Tennessee.
I think Jack did.
Okay.
I'm not positive if it was me or Jack.
So you're aware that Jack told her about your property in Tennessee.
Yes.
You told her about your stepson's condo in Tennessee.
I mean, I don't know which one of us did, but that subject came up. We're trying to figure out how to localize her so they could go and get her.
You told her about your stepson's condo in Tennessee, or Jack told her about your stepson's condo?
One of us did.
You are now both talking over each other continually. So you both have to let the other finish before you start either question or answer. So let's slow our pace down a little bit so we can do that. Go ahead.
You or Jack told Elizabeth about your stepson's condo in Tennessee.
Correct.
You told Elizabeth about Renewal House in Tennessee.
Yes, I told her that if she were able to go out there, that they might be able to help her with like diapers and formula and things like that.
And you told her about Janet Morris in Tennessee.
I told her to call her because Janet told me that she would collaborate what I'm telling her, that she has to come back to her court date.
Let's talk about that. Do you recall telling the detectives, and I believe that you testified to this as well, that Logan told Elizabeth that she was going to be charged with kidnapping and go to prison?
I'm very sorry. I didn't get the beginning of that. I didn't hear it, and I didn't want to interrupt.
Do you recall telling the police, and I believe you testified to it as well, that Logan told Elizabeth that she was going to be charged with kidnapping and go to prison?
I think I told the police that because I know Logan told us that, and Elizabeth had told me numerous times that he was doing that through other people, her grandfather and other people.
Your Honor, I'd like to publish exhibit number 215.
Show it to counsel. You may publish it.
Ms. Smith, I'm showing you text messages that are in evidence that Detective Harris talked about. Why don't you read this text message here that I have pointed to?
It's too late for me. I'm going to be charged with kidnapping, get a felony, and go to jail.
And what date is that?
December 27th, 2009,
And what time?
12:40.
And that's a text message from Elizabeth to you, correct?
Yes.
And this right here, this is a response from you to Elizabeth?
Yes, no, you're not. Who said that?
And what does Elizabeth say to you?
Your lawyer told me yesterday.
And in fact, it says your lawyer told me that yesterday, correct?
Yes, I'm sorry.
And that is December 27, 2009 at 12:41 and 27 seconds?
Yes.
what does this message say here?
My lawyer can shut, question mark.
And that's a response from you asking which lawyer she's talking about, right?
Yes,
And that's December 27, 2009 at 12:41 and 57 seconds, right?
well, it's cut off, but I believe you.
Been cut off from us, the jury.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go.
So yes,
And there's a response from Elizabeth?
I can't come back, I will go to jail, I'd rather die. Plus, you could get charged with aiding and abetting.
So Elizabeth tells you that after talking to your lawyer that you can be charged with aiding and abetting.
I have no clue what she meant by that.
But she said it to you in a text message. I mean, this is her text message to you, correct?
Yes, but I'm telling her to come and stay at my house. That, I don't know
I
what
didn't
her
ask
frame
you
of
what
mind
she was thinking. I
Okay,
asked
so
you if she sent you this text
that was her text
message.
message to me, correct?
And then your response here was,
No, the girl, no, that's her. She's saying
Oh,
no,
that's
the
her.
girl one.
and that's in response to your question, my lawyer can shut?
Yes.
And what did you answer?
I don't know, you have to pull it up. I just got off the phone with my lawyer, Ken. By the way, that girl isn't an attorney. She just works with them. He said since you never got served, you don't have to show tomorrow, but you will.
And keep reading.
Have to show for the next hearing. The judge may be mad at you, but not do much, yell at you. My attorney will explain all the threats and smooth it over tomorrow. We'll let you know.
So according to your text message to Elizabeth Johnson, Ken Shutt told you she didn't have to show for court.
He did only because she couldn't make it in time, and I wanted her to get back here and not be scared of going to jail. And he would go to court for her and explain it to the judge.
But in that particular text conversation, she told you that your lawyer, and I believe she meant Janet Morris, correct?
Correct.
Told her about kidnapping charges.
Correct.
I'd like to direct your attention now to this text message. Why don't you tell us what the date is first?
December 27th, 2009 at, that's 3:18, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
So this is the same day that Elizabeth sent you the text message telling you what Janet Morris told her.
Okay.
Is that correct?
It's the same day, yes. I'm not sure about the time. I don't remember the time on the other one, though, but
Well,
it's definitely same
I can
day.
get it. We can look at it again. Let's do that. Okay, so this is the text where it says, "It's too late for me. I'm going to be charged with kidnapping, get a felony, and go to jail." What's the date and time on that?
12:40.
So this is later in that same day.
Correct, a few hours later.
Okay, and this text message is sent to your daughter, I believe?
Yes.
Okay. And what does it say?
Court on Monday, but her ex has been telling her she's going to prison for kidnapping, and an Amber Alert was sent out. He scared her to death. I don't know. It says I don't know. IDK.
Are we at a big breaking point? go ahead and take our evening, and that means our weekend recess. I will tell you, we're, in terms of schedule, we're where we thought it would be, so we're fine schedule-wise. So now we're going to have another weekend where you may have some people asking questions about what you've been doing over the last few weeks, and or maybe talk about a court case. So we've gotten a long way already. We're in the home stretch. Next week's the last week. So make sure that since we've come this far that you don't have any issues. If there's anybody with a TV on that appears to be broadcasting something related to this case, or anybody talks about the case, walk away. Make sure you don't have any exposure to it. You've done a great job so far, so let's finish the task. We'll be back Monday at 10:30 a.m. Make sure you have a good weekend. Remember the admonition, and we'll see you at 10:30 on Monday. Okay, please be seated, everyone. Ms. Smith, you may step down. You don't have to stay up there. Okay. And this doesn't have to be on the record. I want to talk about scheduling. So let's talk about scheduling. We're in cross-examination. I'm not sure how much longer you have to go, but at least you're a decent ways into it. So it seems to me that we'll almost certainly finish with Ms. Smith and Mr. Shutt, who I don't think can have too great an amount of
I would like an idea so that I can tell Mr. Shutt. He's been here since the break. I thought there might be a chance he'd come on today. So I would like to, if we could possibly get an idea so I can tell him so he doesn't have to be here Monday morning if we won't need him till Monday afternoon, if it's possible to figure that out.
Do you think it's possible you'll finish in the morning?
It's possible, yes.
Okay, which means make sure he's here. I would say 11:30 is probably fair, so we don't have downtime.
Well, that doesn't include redirect, Joe.
Right. I know, it doesn't include redirect, but it's possible. You could always say, I've got 2 questions and that's it. So I think 11:30 is safe to have Mr. Shutt here and then take the stand.
And to answer your question, I don't anticipate taking very long with him. My directive him maybe 20 minutes.
All right. So we should finish the defense case probably early in the afternoon, Monday, and then we get to possible rebuttal. Any idea yet?
Not sure yet, Your Honor.
Not sure? Okay, here's what I think I would like to happen. I think we have enough time to easily finish within Monday. I don't want to just leave a flat-out dark day Tuesday. If we have time Monday, we can talk about jury instructions and work through, but I don't think we have to take a day off Tuesday and give it to him Wednesday. I'd rather give it to him Tuesday in terms of close Tuesday morning and afternoon. So plan on that being the schedule. Obviously, if something happens and you feel compelled and have a rebuttal case that's reasonably longer, then that is what it is. I have had to, so you know, schedule an oral argument in an emergency special action for 3:30 on Monday here. I think it's 3:30, maybe 4 o'clock. I can't remember. But it's late in the afternoon, and I have to do it then. I don't have a choice. So we'll have that time. We need to talk about time to talk about jury instructions. I gave you, hopefully you got a copy of my first pass. I gave you what made sense to me after I reviewed what you gave me. And so take a look at it. I guess we can talk on Monday. I don't know if you've looked at it enough to get a sense for, do you think we have a whole lot of work to do? Is it in the neighborhood of being where you think it ought to be? Let me get the state's view.
Your Honor, I'm sorry I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I will tell you that one issue did come to my attention, and I mentioned it to Ms. Phillips this morning. We had filed a 703 allegation. Ms. Phillips filed the motion to strike. Judge McMurdy declined ruling on it and said it couldn't be ruled on until after hearing the evidence in trial. It was brought to my attention by another lawyer who was in the courtroom that if it's a fact decision, it might be an Apprendi issue. And if it's an Apprendi issue, it might have to have a special verdict form, and if that's the case, it might have to have a jury instruction. I don't know that that's ever been done as far as a 703 allegation in front of a jury. I certainly hadn't had the time to research it myself or even consider it. But if it is a possible Apprendi issue, I think it's better for us to be safe in giving it to the jury, but then we would probably have to fashion a jury instruction, and honestly, I don't have any idea right now what that would say.
I don't know if you've got a view on whether that's a jury issue. I've always considered to be not a jury issue. I thought Judge McMurdy's ruling contemplated it wasn't a jury issue. What's your view?
Our first pass, Judge, on it was that we don't think it's a jury issue. However, we need to do some research and check on it. I don't think it's a jury issue.
My gut feeling is I don't think it is either, but I'm willing to listen if somebody can convince me otherwise, show me some authority. There may not be a whole lot of authority, but put together an argument that convinces me that it should be a fact or jury issue, and I'll consider it. I hadn't contemplated that. I'm not aware of, I know I've never done it, and I'm not aware of anybody else doing it that way, which may or may not tell us that something. So we'll need to talk about that. Have you had a chance to look at the jury instructions yet?
I have, Your Honor, and my first pass is that we're in the neighborhood. I may have an addition or two, of course, but mostly it looks good.
Okay, I crafted my own instruction relating to there's no allegation that this defendant had anything to do with the, I can't remember how I phrased it, but disappearance of Gabriel Johnson in San Antonio or something along those lines to make it very clear. I hope it's neutral enough. I think it is. But take a look at it. We can either talk Monday. I can try and carve out a little bit of time tomorrow if you feel like you want to talk about it. We can talk informally where we can just discuss it. And I will always, before we finalize the jury instructions, put it on the record and let people object. But typically, if we're going to have a free-ranging talk, I'm not going to worry about putting it on the record, and then I'll set forth any objections before we finalize them. So if you want, I can, supposed to be in a seminar tomorrow, but I can find some time, or we can talk about it Monday.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have a pretty full day tomorrow, and I believe there's information that I was provided that you might not be in court all morning tomorrow.
That's correct, in the morning for a portion of the time, but in the afternoon, I think I was thinking more in the afternoon. But I'm not really, I don't feel that strongly that we need to talk about it tomorrow.
I would love to do it tomorrow.
You're just saying that because she didn't want to.
That's not true, Your Honor. I'm just trying to move this along.
Well, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to look at the jury instructions, and by tomorrow early in the afternoon, let us know if there are issues from your perspective. Specifically, are we missing anything? Is there a big problem with instructions? So I know what's coming, and I know how urgent the discussion needs to be Monday and how much time we need. Does anybody think there's really any lesser includeds here? Somebody included lesser includeds, and I didn't see the possibility of a lesser included offense here, so I did not include that in the jury instructions. I don't know who did it. Does anybody think that there's possible lesser included offenses here?
No.
Okay, all right. Okay, so here's the understanding. Tomorrow, let's say by 2 o'clock tomorrow, and again, this doesn't mean you're foreclosed from raising anything you don't raise, but please, by tomorrow, give me a heads up of issues you see, whether it's specific instructions, missing instructions, or a 703 type issue, so I know it's coming and can consider it, because I may be able to figure it out between now and then if you alert me. Okay.
I will tell you, I know of one issue we're probably going to have to discuss that I've thought about a little bit. This was a charge for conspiracy to commit custodial interference. And the class of the charge depends on who's involved and whether or not it's in state or not in state, but it's conspiracy. So I believe we need a special verdict form that helps us determine what the appropriate sentencing range is, but we will need to talk about that.
We will, but I will tell you, it's charged as a class 4. And the other part of the statute, at least as I read it, contemplates a class 3 for certain acts. There's a contemplation of a class 6 that doesn't apply here, clearly, for certain acts. So I'm not sure how we get to anything else, because at least intuitively, I don't think you can charge it as a 4 and now argue that there could be facts supporting a 3. I don't think you can do that.
That's not what I'm trying to do, but It's a 4 if a parent takes the child out of state. It's less than a 4 if the parent doesn't take the child out of state.
Okay. Well, we'll need
It's
to.
not that it's higher, it's just that it might be lower.
Okay. Well, we'll need to figure that out, because in looking at the statute, I saw the only lower as a 6 apply to something that I didn't think was possibly relevant to our fact pattern, but maybe there is something other than a 4.
It's a class 6 if a parent interferes with custody and the child isn't taken out of the state. I believe it's a class 6.
Okay. We'll need to work through that, and we will.
Judge, I know nobody wants to hear from me because everybody's tired, but I do think we need to at some point deal with the issue that we brought up in the Rule 20 about exactly when Logan McQueary's paternity rights were established, and how does that apply here, and craft a jury instruction around that as well, I think.
I will tell you, I've looked at the statute, and I'm not so sure I agree. I think I agree more with the state in terms of having paternity rights. I think the statute's read more broadly, and we don't parse it out that way. But if you believe that that's the case, we can talk about it. I don't know if, what the state's view of that. You know what he's talking about, obviously, we talked about in the Rule 20.
I do, but I think the statute's clear that he didn't have to have rights established.
I agree, based on my reading of the statute. So here's what's going to have to happen. You're going to clearly be proposing a different jury instruction than I'm probably, at least right now, thinking that I would give. And so you need to provide me with a proposed instruction and some reason why I need to give it.
I was planning on doing that, Your Honor, by 2 o'clock tomorrow.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So I'll look forward to that. And then I can look at it over the weekend, and I'll have an idea of what I think. I will tell you my initial reaction is I agree with the state. Okay. Anything else we need to talk about before we break for the weekend? Ms. Phillips, anything from your perspective? All right. I'll see everybody Monday, and I'll look forward to getting the information from you tomorrow afternoon regarding the jury instructions.